Christie, you mind doing the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are we recording?
Yes. Y'all make sure your microphones are on, please. And speak
Yep.
into them. So it's being live streamed. It's being live streamed so everybody can hear you.
All right, roll call.
Commissioner Bro, Commissioner Harwood,
Present.
Commissioner Nico,
Present.
Commissioner Bennett,
Present.
Commissioner Lael, Commissioner Brewer,
Present.
and Commissioner Flowers.
All right, and so we, just for the record, we do have a quorum. We have 3 here and we have 1 on the telephone. If for some reason we lose Scott at any time, we must end the meeting at that point. So we have to have a quorum to continue. So if Scott has any phone issues or anything, we'll make an attempt to reconnect, obviously, but if we can't, we'll have to end the meeting.
Correct. Did you hear that, Scott?
Yes, I did. I'm actually sitting in a parking lot and will not move till meeting is over.
Okay, thanks.
Don't move.
All right, is there any adjustments or changes to the agenda? None. All right.
So a motion to approve.
So we've got a motion to approve the agenda.
On motion.
Second.
Roll call.
Got a roll call?
Right.
Yeah, because we do have them, and just for the audience and those watching, because we have one commissioner who's on the phone, just so that we make sure all the votes are recorded and we know exactly how everybody votes, I recommend we do all the voting, whether it's something small or large, by roll call.
All right. Let's have a roll call. That's aye.
Commissioner Nico,
Aye.
Commissioner Brewer,
Aye.
Commissioner Harwood,
Aye.
Commissioner Bennett.
Aye. All right. And approval of minutes, was there any changes to the minutes that we know of? All right, we get a roll call for the approval of the minutes.
Need a motion and a second to approve.
I'm sorry. Got a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second.
Roll call.
Roll call.
Commissioner Nico,
Aye.
Commissioner Brewer,
Aye.
Commissioner Harwood,
Aye.
Commissioner Bennett.
Aye. All right, now we go to new business. So for new business, had a public hearing on a proposed text amendment to the fence ordinance, Article 9.8. General requirements and restrictions. The proposed text amendment is to add, if fences, landscaping material, and other appurtenances, did I pronounce that right?
Close enough.
Installed by the property owner in the easement must be removed by the city to service the drainage system. The cost of removal and/or replacement shall be the responsibility of the property owner. At the end of 9.8.c, the case file number is 2023-00274.
Okay, this is just with the recent drainage issues that we've had. This is part of the, we did not have this included in the zoning ordinance under fences. We do have it included in the subdivision regulations, but we didn't have it here. So we just wanted to, and it's part of the easements. Everybody knows the easement is to be used by the owners of the easement. And the owners of the easement would be Water Sewage, Coast Electric, the fiber companies, etc. So to remove all doubt, we just want to add here and make sure that it's clarified that if something is obstructing the easement and we need to get into it to repair or make changes to the easement, then we would remove those obstructions, and then it would be the responsibility of the owner to put them back.
All right. Commissioners, any comments?
Did anybody want to do a public comment?
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah, come on up, Penny.
And could you please state your name and your
I'm Pam
address?
Crawford in 7922 Apaki Place. And it says here that the cost of removal and/or replacement, so the person who owns that property and put that stuff in the way could pay to have it removed also, whatever that cost is, right?
That is correct.
Okay, because what you just said was to replace it, but it's also removal.
If there is a cost associated with, normally when this happens, Public Works goes in there and removes those obstructions and then does the repairs. But they do not put anything back, including the fence, okay?
So would we
So
have?
if it's just to clarify, if it's just a fence or something like that, it can be easily taken down, Public Works does it. But if a shed has to be moved or anything like that, that would cost anything, it would be borne by the property owner.
Okay,
Right, but
Thank you.
but the property owner would have the choice to remove it themselves
Oh,
at their
absolutely.
cost.
Correct.
All right. Anybody else? All right, can we have a motion to approve the fence ordinance text amendment?
Make a motion.
I motion. I second.
You can't do both.
Can't do both. We got a motion, we need a second.
I'll second.
All right, roll call.
Any discussion?
Any discussion?
Commissioner Nico,
Aye.
Commissioner Brewer,
Aye.
Commissioner Harwood,
Aye.
Commissioner Bennett.
Aye. All right. All right, next is a public hearing concerning the draft to revise Article 11, the tree ordinance. Presentation of a draft for discussion and comments prior to offering a final recommendation for the revisions to the tree ordinance. Do we have anybody that wants to?
Let me set the stage first, please. I want to emphasize, this is a public hearing. This will not be voted upon tonight for approval. This is just a draft that the staff has put together based upon some input that we've received from the residents, based upon input that we have gotten from arborists, based on input that we've gotten from Mississippi State Extension Service, and looking at other ordinances in other cities and what they're doing. So Derek has worked very diligently on this and helping putting this together and combining these things. And so our first meeting, which was last month, was to get public input. What did you want to see? Okay, this is very similar to the concept that was used in Diamond Head Vision 2040. What does the public want? What do the residents of Diamond Head want to see as far as the tree ordinance is concerned? Then we took it and then we kind of put all these, like baking a cake, I guess. You take all the ingredients and you try to fit them all together. And now we're tasting the cake to see, okay, how does it taste? And do we need to make changes? Do we need to look at other things? Have we not addressed what the residents wanted and what can be legally done and what can be enforced by the city? Okay? So that's where we stand tonight with that. Now, we looked, and the real test was to look at our residents' suggestions for the tree ordinance. And their suggestions were a stated goal of preserving all healthy, mature trees, expand the list of protected trees, a committee or board with professionals to make recommendations in public meeting, include protecting drip line, improve and expand mitigation for protected trees, replacement sizes, maintenance period, public property, increase canopy, and Mitigation Trust, moratorium for violations, incentives for preservation, replace any tree that is removed, enforce the existing ordinance, keep non-protected trees to prevent soil erosion, and
Matt,
increase
Can I
penalties.
stop you for a minute? Scott, do you mind muting your phone? We hear a lot of background noise.
Okay, I'll put it on mute until asked.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, so when you look down at that list of what the residents wanted, and it was really interesting when we looked at this. We thought our old ordinance, our existing ordinance today, we thought was pretty good. But let me tell you, it didn't meet the mustard when you compared. In looking at all these goals that were stated here, or resident suggestions, our new ordinance met the vast majority of them. Okay, there were some things that city of our size, committee board with professionals to make. We did a little, instead of committee board, we did bring in for professionals and have put in here ISA certified arborists to make these decisions, okay? And to make these, determine what the tree canopy is and what protected trees there are. So we did bring in experts on that, but as committee board, no. But if you look at this, the draft ordinance accomplishes the vast majority except for 2 or 3 things. The old ordinance only accomplished 2 of those things. So what we thought was a good ordinance obviously wasn't that good. And so here we are with the new proposed one. Now, this is not a final. This is what we've been together, come up with based upon, we use the city of Oxford as a base because they were here a couple of months ago. Chrissy, you were at the meeting there where they came down and part of the discussion was a tree ordinance. So we got with them and we discussed their tree ordinance with this, and we used theirs as a base. Then we brought in the resident suggestions and added that into here. Then we brought in the arborist suggestions, and the arborists being Vanessa and Eric, and got suggestions and feedback from them. And I know that we missed a couple of things. So now we're looking to see how this meets what your needs, and did we miss something, okay? Or is something not clear? So we want to give the opportunity for the public again to address this and talk about this, give the opportunity to y'all, the planning commission, to address this and ask questions, and how will you do this. I will put a stake in the ground right now. An ordinance like this, enforcement is the key. And that's one of the things that has been lacking with our existing ordinance, is lack of enforcement. Prime example is Diamond Head Lakes. Yes, it's horrible, okay? In order to have proper enforcement, you must have the staff to do that enforcement. This ordinance, without providing funding for a staff, is useless. It's just words on a piece of paper. So, we can write the most restrictive ordinance you want, but if it's not enforced, you know, we have speed limits out there on the interstate, and if it's not enforced, people are going to drive as fast as they can. Might not be a proper analogy, but if we don't have the resources to enforce this ordinance, one of the things that, knowing that we don't have those resources, is how can we mitigate that? And that's when we came up with the ISA certified arborist to go in and develop these tree canopies, apply for the the tree permit, preservation permit. That's what it is. Tree preservation. All these new words have to get used to. And what we also want to do is make it incumbent upon that developer to fund this activity and have it monitored until completion, so that not only was a plan identified, tree canopy preservation plan identified, but it was also implemented properly and completed properly and done according to the ordinance. We do this in our subdivision regulations, where a developer is developing a subdivision and it puts in the infrastructure. You got the water lines, you got the sewer lines, you got the drainage, you got all of that, the light poles and the lighting, the utilities that come in there. That is all done by the developer to make that, and the developer has a contractor, an engineer or someone hired by the engineer company to provide photographic evidence, provide monthly reports that these activities were done and they were completed in accordance with the proper procedures. We're looking to do that with an arborist to do that too. I don't have the knowledge. Nobody in the building department has the knowledge to do this. So we're looking to do that kind of deal so that when the project is completed, not only is it monitored all along, and when somebody, one of the problems we've had is getting from the decision maker or the contractor, the developer, down to the local operator, the bulldozer guy, the backhoe guy, the trackhoe person. It just doesn't get communicated down the line. And proper fencing is not set up to protect these trees. And so the bulldozer guy, he backs up over it without seeing, and oh, okay, my bad. So enforcement by somebody not on the city payroll, paid for by the developer, and then have the penalties in place. We're not calling them fines, we're calling them fees, because fines is a judicial matter, and we don't want to have to take this into the court. It's if you do this, here's what your fee is, okay? And with some pretty hefty, the heftiest tool of all is a 24-month halt of any other work, any other permits allowed until you meet certain criteria. So that will hurt a developer the most. That will halt a project for 24 months. That will hurt the developer. So, okay, I spent way too much time on this.
So how would this affect a homeowner doing their own?
Glad you asked that question. That was another one of our concerns, is we did not want on developed lots, and definition of developed lot is you already have a house on it. Okay? So a developed lot, we didn't want it burdened on the homeowner because they wanted to cut down or trim a magnolia or a live oak or a pine tree or cut down a pine tree. So we put certain parameters in there that if it was less than a certain size of the protected trees, which we now call heritage trees, if there was less than a certain size, you wasn't a permit required for those developed lots. This does not apply to a developer who's developing a subdivision. So you would be able to do that. Now, if it did meet one of the criteria where it was larger than what that size is, and if it was a big pine that was 36 inches round, yes, you'd have to get a permit. Okay, and then you would have to follow the mitigation procedures, etc. to protect. One thing about it, everybody talks about the tree canopy. The first step in protecting the tree canopy is stop removing it. Then you can add to it. But if you're continuing to remove it, you're playing a catch-up game, you'll never win. So we put a lot of emphasis on stopping the elimination of trees, so that, and one of our stated objectives is to protect the tree canopy, to protect as many mature, healthy trees as we can. So, I hope I answered your question, Mike.
Well, the question I was really answering is like, I own an extra lot that's wooded.
Uh-huh.
I was planning on doing the work myself. I'll just sub, person come to clear the lot and all that.
Right.
So would the resident or the person building on that lot, they would be responsible of getting an arborist, same as a developer?
Well, okay. If you say the lot next door, okay, have you consolidated that lot?
No, this is just a general question.
Well, okay, the lot next door, I mean, if you own both of them, if you've consolidated, in other words, it's one parcel then. It's
Right.
not two parcels, it's one. It's a developed parcel. So then as long as you didn't exceed the size on heritage trees or protected trees, you would be okay.
Right. But this is a lot across the street. It's
Yeah,
not-
that'd be a separate
That's a
lot, and
separate-
that would,
okay.
that would follow, so if you've got a wooded lot and you wanna,
Okay.
and you wanna start taking down trees, you're going to have a tree preservation plan. You're gonna have to get a permit as part of that, which is gonna have a tree inventory, having enough residual trees, marking those and so we used to just call them protected trees. We've now, following the lead in Oxford, we've now got three classes of trees. We have heritage trees, which is what we've called in the past protected trees. We had two protected trees in the city, and that was the live oak and the magnolia. That list has expanded. And that list, and we're looking for suggestions for others to add to that list. And if those trees, for example, the live oak of 8 inches at DBH, and that's the diameter at breast height, which is 4.5 or 4.5 feet.
4.5.
Anything above that, it is a protected tree. Anything below that, it is not a protected tree. But so that's the definition of a heritage tree. You have specimen trees, which are trees of a certain size that are then protected. And so we're going to have to add to what we're calling a Diamond Head Tree Ordinance Master Tree List. So we're going to be looking for suggestions there as to what trees. So this is something in the future that we can be adding to. So the list of trees that are protected now and the types of trees that are protected now, we're looking for input there. Significant tree is defined as any healthy hardwood or evergreen except a pine with a DBH of 15 inches or greater, and any healthy pines with a DBH of 24 inches or greater. So again, the goal is, you can take down pines, but if a pine is a significant tree, you're going to have to have a plan for that. You're going to have an arborist look at it and come up with a plan. So one of the questions that I get asked quite often is, and Bob Barber with Orion said it to me one day, and this is a truism. A tree cannot exist in the same location as a structure, and we allow structures to be built in the city. So what will happen, the 30,000 foot kind of overview of this is, if you have a lot and you want to build a house, before you take down the first tree, you're going to come to the building official, and the building official is going to say you cannot do anything until you have a tree preservation plan. You're going to have to get an arborist, and he's going to have to do a tree inventory. Now, if you have a protected tree, or a heritage tree, that is right smack dab in the middle of your lot, the first thing we're going to say with your contractor, your arborist, is there any way we can locate this house and not have to take down that tree? The first goal is to keep the existing tree. If it's impossible, the house has to get built there, that tree is right smack dab in the middle of the lot. The next goal, and it says this in the very first paragraph of the ordinance, is remediation on-site, mitigation on-site. So you're going to have to, and there's calculations for this, and the arborist can probably better explain some of those numbers than I can, but it will have to be on-site. So trees of a certain height to, depending on the width rather, to replace whatever it is that you're having to take out to construct the home. If that can't be done, because you can't put a tree in an easement or in a location where we know it can't be protected, we want them to thrive, and that's another part of this ordinance, is we've got to be able to keep monitoring this, keep looking at it. It would be off-site location of trees, and that would be on city property. So I've gotten some comments here from Eric Nolan, and Eric is an arborist. The city's used him many times. He is not back. He was here. He wanted to speak. When we had trouble getting a quorum, there was a misunderstanding as to whether we were going to have a meeting or not, so he did leave. We have tried to call him. We've texted him. We've begged him to come back. But we've got some great comments that he just handed us tonight. I've reviewed some of them. But one of his first questions is, where are those going to, planning's going to take place? Do we need to be more specific about it? But the goal would be city property. So, or, put them on, we have plenty of property, we have plenty of lots, we have plenty of common ground, open ground where we can do that. So again, preserving the canopy. And that's kind of where we're looking at it. And just hitting some of the highlights that, Pat did a great job of hitting all the highlights. Protecting trees that are on lots that are being developed. We didn't have anything in the ordinance to do that, so protecting drip lines with silt fencing, punishments if you damage a tree that is being protected. So you're going to have a situation where if you do have acreage and you have a plan, in the past where it's failed, we had a developer actually get a plan, and then the plan never made, he actually put, ribbons around trees, and the guy on the bulldozer didn't get the message. Knocked them all down. I don't know what he thought the ribbons were for, but I thought every bulldozer operator knew that. But so now, before you even start clearing any trees, those trees that are designated for protection will have silt fencing around them. It will be clear to everyone. So if at some point along the line, whether it's in the initial grubbing of the lot or clearing of the lot, or during the construction of the home, if that tree is damaged, there's a punishment for it, and there's a mitigation plan for it. So those are some of the things that we've added in there. Again, I can't emphasize any more than Pat did, but the key really here is going to be on the enforcement side, and we'll need some assistance. We are putting the burden on the developers, on the owners. You're going to have to get an arborist. They're going to have to sign off on it. Another good suggestion I got from these folks right here was some of this work, getting this work done when you're taking these trees or trimming these trees. Have requirements that licensed tree cutters or tree surgeons do the work. Great idea. I mean, if you're a plumber, you got to be licensed in the city. If you're an electrician, you got to be licensed. So we're seeing a lot of damage to trees that are not getting completely cut down, but are getting cut that end up dying because they're not done. It's not done properly. So that's something else that we just talked about today, that there may be a way to put some more language in this ordinance to even beef that up too. So just to kind of reemphasize that initially our first meeting we had no draft ordinance. And we've been receiving a lot of comments. Up to 5:15 today, Pat was still getting emails, hey, what about? So our goal was to get this done and have a draft and say, council, here it is. There is some urgency, but we're getting so many comments, and great comments, and keep them coming. And I know we're going to open this up to the public here in a little bit, and we want those comments. This is a draft. We're looking for criticism. We're looking for comments. We're looking for suggestions. Keep it coming. Unfortunately, we're not going to be ready to have a final version that you guys recommend to P&Z. Again, I mean, Eric's copy here has more red lines print than our ordinance, and so we just need to take a look at it. So that's kind of where we're at.
For those heritage trees that have to have the fencing around them, will there also be signage so that it's just to prevent an accident at all? Just, maybe a sign that says, this is a protected tree? Is that,
That's not a bad idea.
That is not a bad idea.
Yeah, we've got, and I'm gonna make a note, signage. Right now, you have to have silt fencing all around the extreme edge of the drip line. It shall be, just like silt fencing. No activity of any kind inside the perimeter other than hand brush clearing. No land clearing or building permits shall be issued until the perimeter of all protected trees and tree groves have been properly fenced. No fill shall be put on those routes. No vehicle traffic. Any changes in drainage that negatively affects those trees is to be avoided, and any person who intentionally damages a protected tree shall be in violation of this article and subject to, we change that to the maximum fine allowable by law and up to 30 days in jail. But signage is a good also.
I have a comment. I don't know if you've ever been to, I like I don't know if it's your idea, the trees, the oak trees and the magnolias, if you've ever been to Charlotte. And you see all their trees have a certain canopy. It's almost like they're perfect. And I don't know, certain areas in Diamond Head I've seen it, but not everywhere. I don't know who trims them around here, but if whoever does trim them, they do a great job. But I'm not saying that everybody has to hire the same person, but there should be a certain ordinance to protect them, and the magnolias, because if they were all trimmed like that, it would just be so, but it should be a certain way that, like you said, some of them look gutted, and some of them look like a true canopy. I think that would help protect them as well.
I agree. The aesthetics,
Yes.
that's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
So Pat and I are done with, we're done speaking. Sorry we went on. But do we now want to open it up to the public comments?
Yeah, we can go ahead and open up the public comments. First, I have Penny Crawford.
Okay. Is it okay if I add Vanessa? She wants, yeah.
Penny
Please.
Crawford, 7922 Apaki Place here in Diamond Head. I want to say how much I appreciate all the work y'all have done. It's just phenomenal, the amount that you've put into this, and I certainly hope that we can find a way to fund enforcement, through, getting the builders or the homeowners or whoever it is that wants to build on a piece of property, that gets somebody to support that, because I know it is a problem. I know I've seen it around my home where people have come in and without any kind of permit or any kind of contact to the building department have cleared lots, just mow them down. And I run over here to City Hall and they duck and said, okay, have you seen over there? And they said, no, we haven't seen that yet. And it's like, please tell us when you see that, because sometimes we don't get to see everything fast enough. And these people had just, without any permit or any contact, had just mowed all the trees down. And it stopped. They're unbuildable lots, basically, but they no longer have trees and nobody's gonna put them back. So there was, how do we support that? How do we stop that? How do we get people to put them back? I think all of this work is going in the right direction. I really appreciate it. I was extremely confused about 1,000 inches DBH of existing trees. 100 inches could be removed without mitigation. And the credit and all of that was very confusing to me, and I hope somebody else understands it, like the department, because I sure don't. And this was credits for retention and tree mitigation requirements.
What page are you?
Okay, so I'm looking at credits for retention, which is 11.7.
Okay.
And then the other one I'm looking at is 11.9.1. And those kinds of details just kind of baffled me. So I'm hoping somebody understands mitigation and measure and inches and credit and all of that, because that didn't come through to me. So, I'm sure there must be, maybe it needs to be explained more clearly than this. Maybe everybody that wrote this understood what they meant, and I just don't. So maybe it's just that, I don't know. One of my, and I have some suggestions, and I'll bring them all to your office, Pat.
Thank you.
For additional trees on the heritage tree list. You know, one of the beauties of Diamond Head, and I brought y'all just a little tiny sample, is that it's not all about live oaks and magnolias. And part of the way that this is such a wonderful environment here is that we have a diverse canopy and a diverse selection of plant material on trees, and that attracts all kinds of animals and birds and deer. And we need to keep that up. We need to not throw that away by letting them just have two kinds of trees that we support here. So I have a nice list that I will be happy to share. Also, I was hoping, and I wrote a really ugly note about Diamond Head Lakes and how horrible that is. And I hope that some of y'all have tried to drive there, because it is horrible, and it is just nothing but greed that developed that. Fire truck cannot get down the street. Nobody can have a friend come park at their home. And then you get to the red dirt. And nobody wants to live there. And Diamond Head attracts people because we have a beautiful tree canopy, a beautiful environment to live in, and then we have a nice, relaxed lifestyle. And we want both to attract people here, and we want them to stay here because we have both. And I'm gonna put some of that on the fact that the city needs to create standards for housing and developments that are more generous than what we've been allowing to happen here. We need bigger pieces of property. We need room for people to park, room for people to grow trees and to have their homes. And we're not doing that. We have, parsed it down to such a small site. You can hardly turn around. Nobody can put their stuff in their house. It's all in their garage. They have no place for their car. They have to put a shed in the back because they don't have a place for a lawnmower. And then they can't turn around and they can't plant a tree. And as my friend had said on the old ordinance, wait a minute. You're talking about a space where in 1,000 square feet, you only have to have one tree. Where the birds go? What are we doing with birds here? We just gonna squeeze them all out? Well, I also bought you a bird's nest because we need to have that too. We need to have room for that and cover for all of our creatures. And I think we need to work together as a city to support zoning and building codes that require bigger spaces and don't allow what happened in Diamond Head Lakes to ever happen again.
Penny,
Yeah.
can you share with us some of the trees on your list
Absolutely, I'll be
and
more than happy to do that.
what you brought?
I did bring my favorite bird nest.
Where are the birds gonna go?
The bird had abandoned it, they're already finished with it, so it became mine. Okay, so this is of course live oak. You want these, or y'all don't think that? This is live oak, and this
Okay.
provides not only a wonderful canopy and a history and a context for our community, and shade and acres, and it provides all of that. This is, got so much stuff. This is a crab apple, which is a native fruit tree. You'll find out you really don't want these close where you mow, that's why this branch got cut off. But it does make fruit that feeds the animals. Makes gorgeous pink flowers in the spring.
I don't think these grow wild though, huh?
That does grow wild.
Does it?
Does it?
Yes, it does. And this is cypress. Who would not want cypress?
Is it bald cypress?
This
the
is a
same?
ball
Okay.
cypress, yes, yes. And, we planted these on our lot because we had to clear the lot of a lot of other trees, and as soon as Katrina finished, we started planting. What I did discover about those is that we have beaver here. Did any of y'all know we have beaver here?
Yes.
Beaver every
Yes.
Well, we planted, 6 cypress trees at the north end of the duck pond. Well, we're down to 2 now, because the beaver have cut them off. This far from the ground, they chopped them off. So, they will grow back from the ground, but, we do have beaver here. Okay, and this is I believe, a river birch. And that is a fairly fast growing, doesn't mind water. color in the fall, and a wonderful canopy in my yard. Beautiful leaves. I did bring water over, not my all-time favorite tree, but I love the shade. And you can see the number of acorns that are being provided as deer food, squirrel food, other kinds of animals, and lots of cover for the birds and squirrels that nest in all of them. This is a black gum. Black gum is a native plant, of course. It makes little small black fruits when it makes fruit. And I think all the squirrels love those. And they're early to shed, and they make beautiful color in the fall.
Miss Penny, before you started handing those out, maybe I should have asked, are any of those poisonous?
Or what?
Are any of those poisonous?
No, dear, I didn't pick
Just,
those.
okay, I just, for those,
And a lot of these don't,
Have young grounds, absolutely, let me know.
and a lot of these don't grow natively either.
Which I understand is poisonous, which I did have, but my neighbor cut it down. They got mad. This is, I think, a red oak. You could probably tell me more accurately.
Looks like a southern red oak.
This one, we saved on our property when we built the house. It was small, grew to a lovely size, till we discovered it was under the power line, where they top it out on a regular basis. Right now it's gorgeous, because it's just about the right height to be cutting. But I love it dearly, so I'm not giving that one. Wouldn't cut it again. This is persimmon. We have native persimmons here. They make a fruit that's about the size of crab apple, and possums love them, raccoons love them. I think this is horse sugar. My neighbor had a wonderful selection of trees until we started having hurricanes and cutting them down. Look at this oak tree. I mean, this is, I don't know what kind this is. You know what kind that is? Ask my arborist friend.
Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Sorry about that.
Is it it's not in the magnolia family?
No, it's an oak tree, but I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I don't know what variety it
No,
is.
I'm sorry, I don't know that one.
But it grows natural here. It's gorgeous. This is a Shumard oak. I was showing my friends that this, can you see the gorgeous form this takes? Shumard is not one that we normally would find, I think, in our, forest canopy here, but it's a nice addition to our small lots. It doesn't grow super big. It's gorgeous in the fall. And look at the shape of the foliage. And it's not extremely large. It does grow fast enough for me though. So it's a very nice tree to have around. This is Yopon, which is mentioned as a heritage tree. And I don't know how many of y'all are familiar with Yopon. Yopon vomitoria is the name. And that explains exactly what it's for. It makes red berries. It'll make you sick to your stomach. It's in the holly family.
They're also invasive.
Ilex holly. But it's listed as a heritage tree, so this is
Yeah, I don't
where
understand why, but that's an
we
invasive
need
tree.
to look at our list of heritage
Yopon.
trees with clear eyes as to what they actually are. That is, if you're a deer hunter, I understand that is considered invasive and a problem, and the birds don't really even like the berries. So,
was that on Southern, or Mississippi State's list of Hancock County
yes.
trees? Okay, we can take a look at it though, for sure.
So that's just, that's why I brought these, just to share with you that this is only just a taste of what our canopy is. And we need to preserve and protect that as much as we possibly can, and through the efforts that y'all are going through and that y'all are gonna look at. I think that you're working your way up to that, so I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you. I know Eric's not here, is Jane Parrish, she left,
Yes, unfortunately.
right? Vanessa,
Yes, what?
Did you want to,
Your turn.
I added you.
Get up there, get up there.
Sorry, I was making notes. The only thing that I
State
wanna
your, just state your name and your
Okay.
address so we have it for the record.
Okay, so I do still own property here in Diamond Head. It's 9838 Polk Highway. My name is Vanessa Benson, and I'm ISA certified arborist. One thing that I wanted to say, that you had addressed signage,
And if anyone works with an arborist from the beginning of a project to the ending, they always recommend protection for the tree. It's called the tree protection zone, which is the roots right under the drip line. And so it would be like a silt fencing and also signage. Always recommend signage. And if you work with an arborist from the beginning, they will recommend that always. And then you had mentioned the canopy being trimmed properly. It's a beautiful full canopy. There's something that is called lion's tailing, and it's a huge, huge no-no because it puts too much weight on the ends, and they take out all of the inner parts of the tree. They remove that. And some people do request that, but any arborist would tell them no because that damages the tree. It gives it sun scald, it sunburns the bark. It causes a lot of issues with the tree, not only that, but the weight. So when a storm comes through, there's a lot of weight on the end, so you get a lot more breakage from too much weight being on the end. It's not evenly dispersed throughout the tree. I've also spoken with a lady I'm very good friends with, we're part of PAM, which is the Professional Arborists Association of Mississippi. And one of the ladies there, and I cannot think of her name right now, but I did want to address that in the early fall. She's wanting to have a meeting with someone to get Diamond Head to be a green city. It's not listed as a green city anymore. I don't know how long it hasn't been listed as a green city, but it is not listed, according to her, as a green city. But there are ways to do that. And I want to say she's through the Arborist Foundation or something, but I can let you know.
Is that, like the list of green cities is with the Arborist
Yes.
Association? Okay.
Yes, and what it is they'll provide trees, they'll come out and do tree planting, they'll, part of the Arbor Day Foundation type of thing, and they do so much good. And I did talk to her about Diamond Head, and she told me to give her a call back in the early fall, and then at that time I was going to speak to whoever I needed to speak to and get them on board to make Diamond Head a green city again.
Maybe she can do a presentation or something. for Diamond
Absolutely,
Head.
they do that, yes. And then also, we're really big on mitigation rather than removals. And because you guys are talking about a lot of removals, there's ways to mitigate issues and help the roots to become stronger. And it's through vertical mulching and radial trenching. It's where you take an air spade. Air is not going to damage the roots, but there's certain ways that you have to do it, and you can only do it at certain times of the year. You have to be very cautious of the root system, but it can mitigate a lot of issues with the tree is due to it's soil compaction. And in residential neighborhoods like this, there's a lot of soil compaction from building, okay? So it makes it where the roots can't grow through the soil. They're not getting the nutrients they need. The soil is too compacted to even hold nutrients or the right amount of water, okay? So they're not getting what they need, so that affects the canopy. The canopy then starts dying, and then the tree is not getting the right amount of photosynthesis to be able to feed the tree as well. So it's the bottom affecting the top, and then the top affecting the bottom. Okay, so but there are ways to help with that, and it's through the air spading and properly, and it has to be done. An arborist has to do that. Not just anyone can do that, but if someone wants to go that route, they can. That is an option for people. So I just wanted to let you guys know that.
Explain that a little more. That interests me.
So-
You say it's a mitigation tool. So would this be a tree that might be unhealthy, diseased, that you would apply that to? Or is this an existing tree?
Yes, it's an existing tree.
Well, of course, I know that. I'm
So,
sorry.
so what it is that, okay, most of the time trees, the issues with trees, especially in urban soils, is compaction. It's soil compaction. It's a lot of times it's not disease. Look, trees get bugs. They get these things yearly. That's just a part of nature, right? But a lot of times it's soil compaction, and that's causing fungus of the roots because the trees are not getting the nutrients that they need, okay? So they start to die. The mitigation part would be vertical mulching, where you go in and you're digging up around the roots cautiously, not with an auger, with an air spade. I would not use an auger because they damage the roots. So it's with an air spade. And then you replace it with a fluffier soil that has you can over fertilize a tree. Trees generally get what they need from the ground if they're in the right soil, okay? So with the right soil, and it's a fluffy soil, what it does is it allows the tree's roots to grow, and then the tree, it's photosynthesizing and it's getting all the minerals that it needs. And then one huge problem, huge problem, and it's in every city, not just here. It's called mulch volcanoes. This is one of my pet peeves. We just did a job at, so Michael and I did a job for the federal government. They have to use ISA certified arborists. We addressed that there. It's actually killing trees even here. Some of our beautiful live oaks that we care so much about, they're dying because our groundsmen are going in and they're putting way too much mulch. You're only supposed to have 1 to 2 inches, maybe 3 inches of mulch done a certain way, organic mulch done a certain way, applied to where it's not going to do harm to the tree. So it's organic, it's got nutrients in it, and it's also going to keep the roots moist. And it's going to, at the right moisture, not too much, not too little, and it's also going to keep the roots cool. Another thing about trees that is so wonderful, and I just want to say this as well, and I actually pulled this up because I wanted to read this to you guys if I can find it. Well, I can't. But anyway, it talks about, so trees, the trees take in a lot of carbon dioxide, okay? And they clean the air. The leaves, even the bark of the trees have lenticels in them that cleans the air. The leaves have the majority of it that cleans the air. When that tree releases the clean air, it's believed to be a cool, clean air. If we're taking down all the trees instead of looking for ways to mitigate an issue, we're actually causing more heat on the earth. And so, I mean, that's just my opinion. I believe that is one of the things contributing to warmer climate. So that's all I have to say. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Can-
Hi, my name is Joanne Radasta. I live at 6629 Golf Club Drive, and I am the newest member of the Diamond Head Garden Club Association. And I'm the lady that will be working with the groups to label the trees that we are doing right now. We have 137 done. I have two questions, really. One is, I guess there's no way to go back and recuperate or with the builders that have already killed trees or done things. Is there a retroactive sort of thing that we can go back to these guys and say, hey, you were supposed to put X amount of trees? That's one. You don't have to answer it, but.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. The second thing is, have y'all ever thought about a grant for the city or for the association? There could be a grant that might pay for the person that you're looking to go out there and,
That is, I'm not a grant person.
well, I
Well,
used to
but-
be, I
yeah,
used to be.
We,
Okay.
we always are, and one of the things that typically grants aren't gonna fund a person for the city, or if they
Correct.
do, it's gonna be a short period of time, which then puts the city in the position of after that year or 2 years is up, the city's gotta pay for it, but the
Well,
city
you
is
could-
looking, it is budget time for the city, and the city is looking, you know, building department, public works, and all, those departments are, you know, they're very valuable for the city, and we're always looking ways of providing more resources to those departments, absolutely. But yeah.
Okay, so
So that-
I'm
but
gonna
that's an
go,
op- but
if you
that's
don't
an
mind, yeah,
option.
I'm gonna go looking for myself to see if I can.
Please
Please do.
I will, thank you. That's it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And I was gonna ask a question, she kind of touched on it. So if a developer have to remove trees and there's no way around it and everything, I haven't had a chance to read all this yet.
Mhm.
Are they supposed to replace trees, replant trees, like a percentage of trees back onto the property?
That is correct.
Okay.
And if they can't on that site, then they have to do it on city property. So there's no excuse if you can't, we're gonna mitigate those trees, but you've gotta do it, in either on-site or off-site on city property.
Okay, thanks. Does anybody else want to talk, speak?
And so again, I just wanted to emphasize, we did have a few more people here. Eric Nolan, we did get his comments. Before he left, he agreed to meet with Pat and I and discuss, some of his comments. We're probably also, she doesn't know it yet, but request a meeting with Vanessa.
Oh, yeah.
And
She's going to be a part of that
she's
meeting,
gonna,
not worry.
and I know Miss Penny has already, look, she'll just show up at City Hall, so she's gonna be here. So Pat's gonna be talking with her as well. So we are still taking comments. I know that there's an urgency here, but this is our third attempt at this now as a city, and we wanna get it right. And I think we're all identifying the big issues here, and we all have the same goal, so.
All right. So we don't need, there's no motion or anything for this public hearing?
No,
correct?
this was just a public hearing. It's not, now, I will tell you the next step in the process is we are hopeful, our goal is to come back to you next month with a final draft of the ordinance for your consideration and hopefully approval and recommendation to the city council for them to approve the ordinance. So that's what the plan is. But as Derek said, it's important that we get something that works and not just black ink on a piece of paper that doesn't work and it doesn't accomplish the goals that the residents have specified as to what they want to see in the city of Diamond Head. So we're going to work towards the next month to present that to you. And I don't see any reason why, unless we get meeting with Vanessa and Eric and they say, this is garbage, y'all need to go a different direction. So that's what the plan is.
Okay, thanks.
I have one more question, Rich. Can you point me to, on the draft, what happens if the builder violates that preservation permit that they were issued? I know we touched on,
So we did kind of add to it a little bit already.
Okay.
If you look at 11.8.8, right now, it reads, any person who intentionally damages a protected tree shall be in violation of this article and subject to, and initially we had penalties prescribed in the zoning ordinance. What we're trying to do now is just to clearly say that so that it's in here. It'll be the maximum fine allowable by law and up to 30 days in jail. That's our proposal right now. We're still kicking it around.
Okay.
But we are, as a city, we're limited to what we can fine folks for misdemeanors. All of our ordinances, anybody that violates them, it's a misdemeanor. The good news now is the legislature has just there's a new law with respect to violations of city ordinances. Previously, they all had to go through criminal court, which meant judge had to sign off on a warrant, police have to serve it. It's, and so now we have a civil option. So a little easier process. We can get, we can do it that way. And so we're looking at some we may be recommending to the council in the near future some administrative policies so that we can get this, when we do see violations, we can get the fines to folks quicker, whether it's putting a lien on the house, or the property, whatever it is that we need to do. So we were given recently by the legislature that option, but that's what we've got for if you damage a protected tree. If you clear cut a lot without a permit, that is actually what we've laid out there is in addition to a fine, a 24-month moratorium. It's 11.11. So it's a fine.
Fee.
A fee. Good. And then that 24-month time frame that you cannot develop that lot unless you incorporate a reforestation plan, and there's details on that. So again, we're trying to, we've heard the folks, we're trying to beef up the penalty phase. What we want to do is encourage people to follow the law.
If the violation is made by a builder, so is there 24-month penalty on any other building in Diamond Head?
It's going to be with respect to developing that lot.
That lot, okay.
So a lot of times it's the owner is not the one doing the work, it's a developer. So
Right.
the punishment is on the lot
Okay.
owner. And so they're not going to be eligible to get any other permit on that lot. A construction permit, fence permit, whatever permit you can think of, it'll be a ban on any of those permits until they come up with a reforestation plan, or they just sit out 24 months. So.
To address that a little further, we're looking to beef that section up for people that, and let's just use Diamond Head Lakes as an example, okay? For people that have a plan, but they deviate from the plan, don't follow the plan, and beef it up similar to if you did it without a permit. I personally think that if you had a permit and then you violated it, that the penalty should be more in that case than doing it without a permit. Now, that's just Pat Rich, okay?
Well, right now, so the penalty for that instance, so if you take down a heritage tree, it's $1,000 per heritage tree if you violate the plan that you have in place, and it's $500 per acre. So I mean, we're looking at all that. I mean, we hear the folks. I mean, there are some folks that want people hung in the town square. Miss Penny is one of them. She wants to pull the lever,
We want
tie the
them to
knot.
know that we
She
mean
wants to
business.
do it. But obviously, we're trying to come up with something that's
Okay.
doable.
And legal.
I mean, I was looking at the heritage trees, and I do have an issue with the yopon. How's a yopon listed as a heritage tree? It's an invasive tree, so it's not a.
Everything is subject to change. That's why we're having these hearings, okay? We're hearing, and that is definitely something to consider, and we will consult our arborist to see if that's a doable, something we should do,
Right.
okay? I heard you.
Okay, thanks. Scott, do you have anything you need to add?
No, I mean, I've got some notes, and I actually had sent some notes in earlier today, not knowing if I was going to get able to connect since I'm on vacation. But yeah, I mean, I agree, like the Yopon has noted, it never really gets a girthy truncle in it anyway, and it doesn't provide like a substantial amount of canopy. Just need to make sure that trees that we're listing as heritage trees, that they also have, canopy, but as well as to the wildlife. And then one thing too, Pat, in regards to the arborist, and the arborist has to be, provided by the developer, will the city be evaluating and putting together a pool of arborists that the developers have to choose from, or will they be able to choose whatever arborist they want to, that they, may be buddies with or play golf with, etc.?
Oh, hey.
Uh-oh, got echo.
Maybe move his microphone a little bit, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe he needs to mute his phone. Maybe that's it. Okay, they got
Okay,
it. They got it.
very good. The way it's set up is ISA certified arborist, and there are several of them here along the Gulf Coast that can be used. Regarding whether it's, that's a very high bar in the arborist world to be ISA certified. So their reputation is on the line. It's like an engineer signing off their stamp. They have to live by that. That's their expert opinion. And so we have to have somebody that is knowledgeable. So if you set the standard as ISA certified, and not everybody is ISA certified, I think that protects the city and its residents from the buddy-buddy system.
Okay, yeah, I'm just, whether or not, the city wanted to vet and put together their own list of ISA certified that the developers can choose from, rather than just permitting them to use whomever, was just part of my suggestion.
And that's a great suggestion. And what we looked at it was let a professional organization make that determination for us. And this is an international professional organization. And if they deem that this person meets their qualifications, I think that what that does is it gives us a certain level of comfort that we're dealing with a professional and somebody who has been certified by that organization. I know we have a lot of arborists along the coast that are not ISA certified, and that's why we put the ISA certification in there, to ensure that that level of professionalism was there.
And I would, Scott, this is Derek. I would just say, when folks, they're allowed to pick their engineers, their builders, and as long as those folks are licensed, again, sure, they're probably friends, but their license, as Pat said, is on the line. I know Eric's not here to talk about it, but one of the things, and Eric is, an arborist, one of the things he puts in his comments is that there may be other people that are qualified to do this. A registered forester, he put American Society of Consulting Arborists, registered surveyors. We're going to take a look at that, but I think the point of it is to put the burden on the developer, just like when they do anything. You got to certify to us that you're doing it right. I mean, when they come up with a sketch plat, it's their engineer that's saying, this is going to work. When they do a drainage plan, it's their engineer that is saying, this is going to work. Now, that's not where it ends. I mean, the city has engineers too, and at some point we may have an arborist of our own. If we question something, the building officials will be going out there looking at it, but there's nothing prohibiting the city from having an arborist of our own saying, wait a minute, this guy's, he's not right here. And so that's where we'll, ultimately, they'll give the plan, but we'll be the ones approving it.
So understood, I just,
Yep.
was trying to look at how we can mitigate, that we're using multiple arborists in our city until such time as we have one that we're in a position to hire. And who knows, if we looked at all of the potential permits that are out there for development, and we set a rate for what we would charge to have our arborists involved, if we had one, it may cover the cost of having our own city arborist.
Yeah, I mean, and that's an option. That's absolutely something that the council could decide to do, is that, that's one of the things we want to budget. We want somebody on staff.
Okay, well, I do thank you. I'm gonna turn my mic off real quick, because I know y'all probably getting some reverb background noise while I'm driving down
Yep.
the interstate.
And what we did, the way the current ordinance reads is that the city, we use our arborist, but the applicants pay that fee. So we've changed it up a little bit.
All right, do we have any other comments, any more questions? All right, so, do we have any unfinished business?
No.
Unfinished business? Open public comments and non-agenda items,
No.
all right. Commissioners, got any more comments? All right, so the next city council meeting is Wednesday, July 5th, 2023, and the next planning meeting is Tuesday, July 25th of 2023. All right, so, going to make a motion to adjourn.
Second? Make a
Ye-
motion?
Yeah, you can make the
You can
motion.
make the motion.
You can make the motion,
Okay,
okay? Got a motion and a second.
got a motion and a second. Roll call.
Commissioner Nico,
Here?
Yes.
Brewer,
Aye.
Harwood, Bennett.
Aye. All right. Meeting adjourned.
There you go.
Thank you. Thanks,
All
Scott.
right, very good.
Thank y'all.
Thanks, Scott.